Hey guys, my name is Grant, and I wanted to make a quick video talking about some of the biggest counters in Dota. So there's a lot of counter picks in the game, but there are some that definitely stand above others. I'm going to cover 5 of the counter picks that really just make it frustrating to play the game. So when you're going to your pubs, I might give you a couple ideas here of heroes that you could pick that can make some people's games real sad. On top of that, I'm going to give some options for some sort of alternate heroes that you could pick to avoid these hard counters. So jumping right into number 1, we're going to be talking about Phantom Assassin versus Timbersaw. This is a very, very hard matchup for PA to play in lane. Now with the introduction of PA's Aghanim Shard, this matchup does get salvaged quite a bit. Once the P is actually able to get a couple items, get the shard up, she can actually do some decent damage to Timbersaw during the mid and late game. But you're starting off on such a bad foot if you have to play this lane matchup, because your lane's just going to go horribly. It's incredibly difficult for PA to even come up to lane to get a last hit without the Timbersaw hitting Q and doing a ton of damage to her. This is one of those lanes that you can almost guarantee Timbersaw is going to have a great game because he's just going to get so much farm out of lane. Like I was saying before, this matchup isn't impossible to win the game if you're the PA. You're just guaranteeing the Timber is going to get so far ahead and you're going to be so far behind. And on a hero like PA, being behind in lane is really something you want to avoid. So if you're in the drafting stage and you see somebody pick PA, definitely consider picking Timbersaw to just kind of dominate her throughout the lane. Now on the other hand, if you see the enemy team pick Timbersaw and you want to kind of play this quick tempo, high damage hero like PA, there's a couple other options that you can decide between. These are my 2 main suggestions, Monkey King and Ursa. Both these heroes play very similar to PA right now, where you can get a Battle Fury and farm really quick early game. You have these early power spikes, but you also scale into the late game and do some huge damage. But unlike PA, both these heroes actually do really well against Timbersaw. Fury swipes from Ursa and Jingu Mastery from Monkey King really allow you to trade with this Timbersaw and get the upper hand. Picking either of these heroes with a strong support in lane can let you zone and maybe even kill the Timbersaw. These are all heroes that really rely on having a strong early game, getting a fast Battle Fury timing or whatever item they want to go for first, and then having high impact in the game pretty early. So instead of picking PA and giving yourself a bad start, one of these heroes will give you a great start and really have a leg up on winning the game. This next one very well might be the most obnoxious matchup to play in the entire game, at least in my opinion. Picking ENIGMA and then having to play against a Silencer just literally feels impossible. So the most obvious annoying part about this is the fact that if you ever click Black Hole, no matter where the Silencer is on the map, he's just able to click R and instantly cancel it. Now that's extremely annoying as is, but the part that makes this just unsalvageable is the fact that there's 0 items that you can buy on ENIGMA to get past this. If you even have a BKB, and you BKB and Black Hole everybody, since you BKB'd first, Silence is still going to cancel your Black Hole. The only way you could get around that is if somehow the Silencer ults first, and then you can BKB after and then go in. And the fact that this is global means that the Silencer can literally just AFK and Fountain for the entire game until you click Black Hole and just always counter it. Honestly, the only thing that you can do is if you are able to build a Refresher, and you can Black Hole and then bait out the Silence, and then just Refresher, BKB, and then do it again. That is extremely expensive just to be able to get a Black Hole off though. If you're looking to play this initiating teamfight offlaner, instead of picking ENIGMA, definitely pick Tidehunter into Silencer. Unlike ENIGMA, you don't have a channeled ult, Ravage comes out instantly, so there's no way for the Silencer to react and stop your ult from actually happening. Now the Silencer could ult after the fact and stop maybe some follow-up damage, but that's still not nearly as big of a counter as it is against ENIGMA. On top of that, it's not super realistic for the Silencer to just be completely out of the fight. He'll usually be somewhere kind of in trees off to the side, and Ravage is way bigger than Black Hole, and you might actually catch the Silencer alongside his team. The only real way for Silencer to stop this Ravage from going off is if you preemptively global silence before the Tidehunter jumps in, but Tidehunter is a hero that often will build something like a Lotus Orb or Greaves, which can just break the silence right away. On top of all that, if you're at a point in the game where you don't have these items to be able to break the silence yet, even if the Silencer does get the ult off, if you start getting hit and you're trading, your passive can actually break you out of the silence before it ends. This next one we're going to be talking about HUSKAR versus AA, where AA just kind of obliterates HUSKAR at every point throughout the game. The big thing to point out about this one in particular is the fact that this is a position 5 that can completely shut down a mid laner. The most obvious thing to point out about this matchup is the fact that Ice Blast kind of just obliterates HUSKAR. The reason why HUSKAR is so strong, because when he gets low on health, he gets a bunch of attack speed and health regen, and he can just stay alive and do a ton of damage. But when he's Ice Blasted, he's not going to get any of that regen, and when he gets low, he's actually just going to explode. That alone might be enough to put this matchup on the list, but there's actually something else that makes AA extremely strong against HUSKAR. HUSKAR is a hero that wants to ult in on a fight and then just kind of hold his ground and throw out auto attacks. If an AA waits until HUSKAR jumps in with his ult and then presses cold feet on HUSKAR, it's really annoying for the HUSKAR to have to just stand up and walk away to not get stunned in a couple seconds. If you're looking for a mid hero that's kind of high tempo, does a lot of damage, I would suggest avoiding HUSKAR if there's an AA on the other team, but instead pick something more like a Storm or a Puck. Not only do neither of these heroes really care if they're ice blasted, both of them really focus on being elusive rather than having a lot of HP and HP regen, so the ice blast debuff really doesn't do a whole lot to them. Both have enough mobility to completely ignore cold feet if it's ever put on them. They're able to just jump out of the way very quickly and remove the debuff. The last thing about these heroes is AA is defensively very weak. He doesn't have any mobility, no way to avoid incoming damage at all. Puck and Storm are very good at taking advantage of this and actually just killing AA if he ever shows up on the map alone. Now here's probably the worst matchup in Dota, Storm versus AM. I know I said that ENIGMA versus Silencer is really bad because Silencer removes ENIGMA's ability to Black Hole, but in this case, AM just kind of removes Storm's ability to play Dota in general. Now it's really obvious why this matchup is so bad. bad, Storm has a huge mana pool and relies on it to stay alive, where AM can just burn the entire mana pool and then mana void and do all of Storm's HP. One of the things that makes Storm so strong is his ability to kind of shove out side lanes farther than most heroes can, because he's so elusive that most heroes just can't gank him. But if there's a carry AM on the enemy team, Storm has to be very careful because in a single stun he could just die. And then in teamfight, if Storm gets caught by the AM and gets his mana burned and then gets mana voided, he basically just becomes this living bomb where the mana void AoE will just kill any teammates around him. I don't think I really need to say, don't pick Storm into Ancient Mage. I don't think anybody would really do that. Most people know that that matchup is completely horrible. But since carries usually pick before mid laners do in all pick, you'll have some chances as the mid laner to counterpick Anti-Mage when you see it. If you're looking to play Storm Spirit, this kind of high mobility catch hero that really dominates during the mid game, I'd suggest picking something like Tiny or Kunkka instead. Unlike Storm, who has to run and hide from the AM the entire game, both these heroes can actually run at the AM and are very good at ganking him. If Tiny gets off to a good start, he can just kind of 100-0 the AM at any point in the game on his own. And then with Kunkka, X marks the spot is one of the most obnoxious spells for AM to have to deal with because it can set up so many stuns that he just can't get around. So the last matchup we're going to look at today is going to be a carry matchup, which is WRAITH KING versus PL. This is a matchup that's really hard for WRAITH KING for a lot of reasons. The main reason that people are going to come up with is that PL is a hero that likes to build Diffusal Blade early. That mixed with him having a lot of illusions mean that he's going to burn WRAITH KING's mana very quickly, and WRAITH KING probably won't have mana for Reincarnation. Now that is pretty bad for WRAITH KING, but the fact that he can get his shard at 15 minutes now, making Reincarnation have no mana cost, means that that's not as big of a deal for WRAITH KING as it used to be. The main reason why this matchup is so bad is because WRAITH KING is one of the carries that is most invested in single target damage. His abilities are either single target stun or amping his right clicks, which can only hit one person. And the main thing you have to do against PL is kind of thin the herd of his illusions, figure out what's real, lock it down, and kill it. If there's 5 PLs running around, WRAITH KING can't do anything. It takes WRAITH KING so long to figure out which PL is real. PL's gonna have Doppelganger back up, and he's just gonna be able to jump, make more illusions, and WRAITH KING's gonna have to go through the whole process again. This carry matchup is so bad that an extremely underfarmed PL can still just outplay and destroy WRAITH KINGs in fights. Without a doubt, the best substitute for WRAITH KING here would be Sven. Sven and WRAITH KING play like pretty similar heroes, but Sven's kit literally seems like they made him into an AoE WRAITH KING. Instead of having a single target stun, Sven is an AoE stun. Instead of having a passive crit, Sven has a passive cleave. And then instead of having a really mana dependent ult, Sven's ult you pop at the start of the fight and then don't have to worry about it again. All this stuff makes it extremely easy for Sven to clear down the herd of the PL illusions, find the real one, and just do an insane amount of damage. Even if he can't find the real one, hitting the PL illusions is still going to do so much damage to the real PL that his following doppelgangers are just going to be less and less HP until he just falls. And unlike against WRAITH KING, an underfarmed PL is not going to be able to beat Sven's in fights. Sven also has the nice little bonus of having a spell that just grants him a bunch of armor, which is extremely nice against illusions, which do less damage to the real hero. Okay, and that's a look at 5 of the biggest counters in Dota 2 according to me. If there's any big counters that you think I missed or something that you want to add to the conversation, leave all those thoughts in the comments below. If you want to check out me playing any Dota, my Twitch link will be the first link in the description. When I play over there, I describe my thought process as the game goes on, kind of do a live commentary in each of the games. If you want to come check any of that out, I'd be happy to have you. Besides that, that's all I got. Thanks.